Hello again. Today's video will be on the subject of building maps for your lodge to sort of show the distribution of your membership. We're going to use a free service called BatchGeo. There is a pro version, but we're going to use the free version, and this is about as easy as it gets. One thing you are going to need is a whole bunch of data, and this is something that you can probably get from your Grand Secretary. And if they have a Grand Secretary's database that you use, you can get that data, probably download it in a comma separated file or something like that, where you can basically have a plain text version of all the information you want. So I've got a sample set of data here. This just basically shows, the status if they're an endowed member, active member. You could have suspended in here. You could have, whatever other statuses that your lodge collects. The address of the member, the city, state, and zip. In this example, I didn't include their name, their phone number, their address, or sorry, their their birth date, and all the other information that may come from your exported file out of the Grand Secretary's database. I kind of recommend that you leave that off. I mean, there are privacy issues here. It's assumed that if you are putting this in here, that you would have a map then that would contain all the information for your membership, and that's certainly a list that you don't want to publish. But for this example, this is just a set of sample data here. Again, it's just made up addresses and things like that that I just made up. They're not real. They're not associated with anybody that I know, and they're all across the US. So let's get started. Basically, you just grab your export file. In our lodge, we've got several hundred entries, but for this example, we're just going to use a total of about 12 here. You notice I've got a row of headers across the top, the status, address, city, state, zip. That'll be important later. Let me go ahead and copy this so you can see what it does. Copy that. I'm just going to paste it right into the website, right into this window. You can see it just dropped it all in there. And I will hit Map Now. It will start crunching the numbers. This is the free version, so it is a little slower. If you've got several hundred members, it could take maybe 10 minutes to process your list. But the result is a map that looks something like this. That first column, since it's not an address, which Google Maps is typically only really interested in that, you can see that it broke the status out up here down at the bottom by endowed and active. So if you just click endowed, you can sort, add some tags and things like that. But what's nice is it shows you a distribution of where everybody is. You click on this, you can get information. Again, if you included other fields like their name, their phone number, their ID number, and so on and so forth, that would all be listed here. One thing that I've thought about doing was having a list of people who are instructors. So if there was a way to add a entry for if they're a district instructor or something like that, or they know the work, you could have them be colored in a different color, and then when you dropped in your all of your data, you could see where the instructors were, so that if you had EAs that needed to study, you'd be able to say, oh, this is the nearest instructor to you. This would be a good guy to help you study. So I'm going to take this data, I'm going to trash this, we're going to pause real quick, and then I'm going to drop in our real lodge information. That's just going to be the addresses and the status, so you can see what that looks like for the lodge I'm a member of. All right, so here we are. I've taken the information from our lodge and put it in here. You can see that we've got an interesting distribution across the U.S. One thing that you should notice, though, after I process these records, is that there was one location that was not found. You can click this. It'll tell you what row it was in my Excel file. This will help you track down I guess formatting errors if you want to rerun it, but I think for this example it's okay if I've got one that didn't come through. So this is pretty cool, right? I can see how many endowed members we have versus regular active members. I can also see the distribution of our membership. Look at this, we've got a thing going on in Houston here. So along the 10 corridor, running up here in Abilene and so forth, but most of the concentration of our membership is in the community where the lodge is, and that would be Round Rock. So we've got all the way over to Cedar Park, just south of Georgetown. There is a lodge up here in Georgetown, but it would be interesting to see if we had their data set, what the membership commingling is, because then we could cross-reference if they belong to more than one lodge, how that bleed over happens. But and we're all centered here. So again, if we had instructors listed here, we could see who the nearest person that lived next to them would be available to help teach. Or if you've got entered apprentices listed in here, you can see who the nearest mason is. Maybe you didn't even know that you had a member of your lodge living right next to you. This would definitely be a way to see that. So you could show this at a stated meeting and say, oh look, I live here. I didn't know that so and so lives so close to me. But it's just kind of an interesting way to visualize the data for your lodge. So again, please be extra careful with privacy. I'm a big privacy advocate. I recommend limiting this only to the address and possibly their status. Again, just use this as a tool to visualize so that you don't cross any boundaries and offend anybody at the lodge. So peace and harmony can prevail. That concludes this demo. I hope that you can find a way to use this creatively, and go ahead and leave a comment or something. Let me know how you were able to use this. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.